Esther inquired of Trez on whether or not he was aware of the names of those birds, and she speculated that they might be pigeons. Trez informed her that information was incorrect and provided her with the correct name for the birds, which are referred to as the common gulls of the seagull. Then he inquired of Esther whether or not she was feeling cold in this strong wind, to which she responded that it is almost springtime, which means that she is able to tolerate it. They are currently on a ship that is traveling across the Atlantic Ocean. During this time, they were on board a beautiful cruiser known as the San Ariel. Father Nightroad, on the other hand, was of the opinion that there was something wrong with the fact that they were traveling in a luxurious cruiser. He believed that there was some sort of conspiracy involved. Upon further investigation, it was discovered that Father Nightroad was experiencing seasickness, as he promptly went to the loo. She apologized to Father Trez for persisting on following the two of them and also for causing a lot of difficulties, despite the fact that she had never expected that going to Rome would bring her on board such a ship. The simple response that Father Trez gave was that he simply carries out the directions that he is given. He also disclosed that he was informed 937 seconds before the departure that flying with her would not be a problem. On the other hand, he cautioned her that they must not behave in an undisciplined manner until they are in Rome. The activity that she took the day before, which resulted in some harm to her, was mentioned by him. Following that, Father Trez began his patrols around the ship. While Esther was standing on the board and taking in the beauty of the ocean, she came to the realization that she was actually leaving home. She was so overcome with emotion that she almost shed a tear. It was at that same moment that a gentleman dressed in a suit and hat approached her with a handkerchief to wipe her face. He then inquired as to whether she was feeling melancholy because she was missing her home, or because the beauty of the sunset was causing her to feel that way. After that, he responded by saying that if that is the case, then it is a coincidence because he was thinking about the same thing at the time. During the course of his conversation with her, the man used the far distance controller that he was testing to smack Esther on the back of her head. In response, he inquired as to whether or not she was okay and advised her to seek medical attention if she had sustained any injuries. In response to Esther's expression of gratitude for his concern and her admission that she had been somewhat dissatisfied, the man proceeded to discuss the handkerchief, which is something that is very personal to him. It belonged to her daughter, who is somewhat similar to Esther. However, she is currently sleeping. Despite the fact that the girl is unable to move, he added that she is extremely attractive. When Father Nightroad arrived, he spotted Esther with the man, and he cried out to Esther while maintaining a serious expression on his face as he stared at the man. Esther was under the impression that the man was a vampire. However, it was revealed that he is actually a professor. The professor met Father Nightroad when he was invited into the cabin room. He then briefed Father Nightroad about a couple of weird episodes that have been occurring in the area, and it is thought that these happenings are caused by a ghost ship such as the Mary Celeste or the Flying Dutchman, as well as the fact that it brought misfortune to anyone who witnessed them. And once they are ensnared by the mermaids singing from the quiet of the sun, there is no way for anyone to escape the shipwreck. Due to the absence of meaningful evidence concerning the occurrence, Trez does not believe the information that has been provided. When Father Nightroad asked the professor why he was on the ship rather than examining the mermaid, the professor responded by saying that this ship is actually the site to demonstrate his invention to the public and that Father Nightroad will be his helper. Father Nightroad then asked the professor why he was on the ship. It was proven that Father Nightroad's suspicions about the luxurious cruiser were correct, and that he is not making the most of his luck. After then, a young vocalist entered the room. It was well known that she had only recently made her first performance. She began to sing, then in the next line she ordered everyone to go to sleep. Her beauty left everyone, including Father Nightroad, speechless. She was so stunning that everyone was stunned. Prior to Esther falling asleep, she observed fangs emerging from the singer's mouth. Meanwhile, Father Nightroad made a concerted effort to remain awake, as he had come to the realization that it is extremely peculiar for everyone to fall asleep. However, he too succumbed to the temptation and fell asleep. Trez was the only one who did not sleep because he is not a human. He pointed his gun at her, and she responded by saying that she has no interest in a machine that does not have blood. He explained that his fluids cannot be used to produce hemoglobin capsules, and that the whole thing is a business. He stated that it is despicable and unacceptable for Methuselah to drink the blood of Terrans. Therefore, Methuselah requires their hemoglobin capsules in order to quench their thirst. This is the only way that she is able to survive. Trev was able to avoid the attack launched by her as she charged at him. He then proceeded to fire rounds at the singer, who had seemingly vanished. He then activated the search mode in order to look for her. But he ended up getting injured in the left elbow joint, which rendered it incapable of functioning any further. He exited the cabin and walked around the ship, searching for the singer but unable to find her. This indicates that she could only be in the ocean, as he was unable to locate her anywhere else. At that very instant, he was abruptly grabbed from behind and thrown into the water that was around him. After Trez came to the realization that the singer was in fact a mermaid, he found himself in a position of disadvantage because he was unable to defeat the mermaid in the water. In addition to inflicting additional harm on him, the mermaid was on the verge of dragging him to the depths of the ocean when Father Nightroad came to his rescue. The professor then explained that in order to counter her attack on such a fundamental level, one must have the same level of protection to which he revealed his proud invention, Earman. However, he was unable to comprehend how the professor and others could suddenly be in a state of health when they had been put to sleep just a few minutes earlier. It was then that Father Nightroad came to the realization that the Earman was the most recent invention that the professor had discussed, and that they were the guinea pigs for it. While they were having their conversation, Father Nightroad was dragged into the water by the mermaid who had the intention of killing him. He made the decision to abstain from using Crusnik until he was no longer in Esther's line of sight before he dealt with a mermaid. While this was going on, the professor requested Esther to gaze forward and revealed his research, which was a hefty android for sea battle called Poseidon WWGO. Although it disintegrated the very next second, it was still able to save Father Nightroad and capture the mermaid. After that, a Vatican airship arrived to fetch them up, and Sister Kate informed them that she was present because Lady Katharina had requested that she be here. When the professor urged the mermaid to retract her statements, she responded by saying that a block of metal did not stand a chance against a shark, stating that the situation had changed. When Esther arrived, Sister Kate greeted her as well, and then the three of them traveled to Rome. When they arrived in Rome, Sister Kate informed everyone that they will be reaching their destination in a little while. In the 5 months that have passed since that time, Esther has developed into a true sister who dresses appropriately for the occasion. During her trip down the street, she came across a cat, and before she embraced it, she made sure to check to see if the cat had a wet paw. Despite the fact that the harmony in Rome is a peaceful place, she is unable to relax for some reason. She pondered whether or not this was due to the fact that she was searching for particular answers. When Father Trez unexpectedly arrived and shouted out the full name of his sister Esther, she was so frightened that she instantly hid the cat that he had brought with him. After that, she inquired as to what he was doing there, to which he said that it is against the law to abandon a center of the imperial Pope Palast, and that in addition, it is not permitted to keep animals in the government region. Sister Esther then inquired as to whether he still remembered her, to which he consented. She continued by stating that she had been working as a member of His Holiness Ministry of State Affairs, performing professional duties employment since the 20th of February. She also mentioned that she had completed the 5-month training and that she would be transferred to the investigation section. Sister Esther, who had recently acquired the status of a formal sister in His Holiness Ministry of State Affairs, observed that Father Trez did not even appear to be sweating despite the fact that it was a boiling summer. After that, she inquired about Father Nightroad as well. Father Trez informed her that he is on his way to them and is currently in the company of the Duchess of Milan, Catherine Sforza, who was also the Cardinal of His Holiness Ministry of State Affairs and a leader of the government in the Vatican. In spite of the fact that Sister Esther was perplexed as to why the Duchess of Milan was spending time with Father Nightroad, she requested that Father Trez give her some space, alleging that she was suffering from a stomach ache, and she subsequently fled. During this time, Father Nightroad appeared to have heard a voice that he had heard before, but he was unable to identify the person who was speaking to him. The Duchess of Milan informed him that the person who was speaking to him was his sister Esther, and that she had been standing there for some time. She also stated that Esther is an outstanding young lady, as she has won the first prize in every training. Father Nightroad was pleased with the remarks that were made to Sister Esther, which prompted the Duchess of Milan to inquire as to whether or not he considers her to be his daughter. She then inquired as to whether or not Sister Esther and Dietrich from the Rosenkreuz are acquainted with one another. Father Nightroad did not provide her with a direct response, and the Duchess of Milan, Lady Katerina, requested that he get in touch with the Empire because she had given the matter an appropriate amount of thought, as well as the fact that the crown of Methuselah is ruled by vampires and is intended to keep the Vatican in a state of equilibrium for hundreds of years. Sister Loretta came over to meet Lady Katerina with an urgent message. She informed her that the vampire who was being held captive in St. Angelo had, after receiving the water of life, murdered the jailer. Subsequently, the vampire broke through the bars of the outer circle of the jail and escaped. This occurred not long after the naked and bloodless body of one of the sisters was discovered at the confessional. After hearing this, Father Nightroad requested that Sister Loretta and Lady Katerina be relocated to a more secure location as soon as possible. It was observed that Esther, the sister, was conversing with the cat at that time. When she saw that Father Nightroad had a different expression with Lady Katerina, who is such a gorgeous lady, she'd appeared to be worried by the circumstance. At this point, she came to the realization that she had no prior knowledge of him. During the time that she was arguing, a sister who was hurt was spotted calling out to her sister Esther for assistance. Esther instantly raced towards her and inquired about what was happening with her. After that, the injured sister went on to tell that a vampire had escaped from jail, that she had been attacked, and that the vampire was intent on taking Lady Katerina's life. When Sister Esther heard this, she became concerned because she was aware that Lady Katerina was in close proximity to St. Angelo at the time that the outbreak occurred within the community. She asked the injured sister if she knew where the other victims were, to which she responded that she did not know because she was the only victim at the time of the attack since she was by herself. This was surprising to Sister Esther because, according to her, a vampire would have no problem killing a lonely girl. As a result, she inquired about the fate of the injured sister and how she managed to survive. As a result of the fact that she had witnessed the quickness of a vampire on multiple occasions, Sister Esther was aware that it was impossible to escape from a vampire. In addition, the UV protection gel is the only means by which a vampire can move around during the middle of the day. At that precise moment, a father could be seen exclaiming to his children that it is risky because the vampire had previously taken the life of a sister. Just as he was about to finish his speech, the injured sister abruptly beheaded him with her fangs that had grown out of her fingers. At this point, Sister Esther came to the realization that the individual in question was the vampire who had managed to flee. This individual asserted that Sister Esther is pretty intelligent for a Terran, given that it is a fact that no one can escape from a Methuselah who is on the run, and the fact that she had consumed blood during her lengthy vacation from her incarceration, which meant that the only option left for her was to locate Lady Katerina and kill her. After that, Sister Esther inquired as to the reason behind her pursuit of Lady Katerina, to which she responded that it was for the purpose of establishing her honor, as all of the Terrans would be humiliated and disgraced, and that she would take the head of Lady Katerina with her to the Empire. After that, Sister Esther stated that the vampire could not harm Lady Katerina because she is protected by the most powerful people in the Vatican. This prompted the vampire to attack Sister Esther, who had fallen towards the location of the fountain. Sister Esther then had the idea to pull the vampire into the water, which washed away the UV protection gel. The vampire was furious because she wanted to kill her, but then she realized that the UV protection gel had been rinsed away, and her skin had started to burn as a result of the sun's rays at high noon. Following this, Father Nightroad and Trez came to the rescue of Sister Esther, and they confirmed that the vampire had, in fact, passed away as a result of the blast of sunlight. As a result of the assistance provided by Sister Esther, Father Nightroad was thankful for the reduction in the amount of damage. After that, he handed her his jacket so that she could cover herself, and he expressed his excitement about the prospect of working with her. The purpose of Sister Kate's visit was to provide Lady Katerina with information regarding the aftermath of the incident that was caused by the vampire, as well as to inform her about its capabilities. On the other hand, Lady Katerina was not impressed, as she asserted that Sister Esther is not capable of dealing with a vampire on her own, and that she was simply fortunate in this situation. This was followed by a discussion over the matter of telling Father Nightroad that the AXE are currently attempting to establish communication with the Empire once more. When Lady Katerina realized that they were standing on a precarious bridge, she realized that if the information were to be shared with their supporters, it would result in the complete and utter destruction of the nation of the Vatican. This is because the Empire is a fierce adversary of the Vatican. During this time, a courier from the Empire is dispatched to meet them at the city of Carthago, which is one of the free cities. During the course of her covert operation, Sister Esther was able to apprehend Professor Pietro, who, following his removal from his position at the Vatican, had unlawfully duplicated the software that he was responsible for and claimed it as his own. She proceeded to ask Father Nightroad, who was wasting time looking for the handcuffs, to bring them over to her. Father Nightroad congratulated her on successfully completing her first mission in Carthago. During their conversation, they talked about the criminal they had arrested, who had previously worked as a computer engineer for the Vatican. Father Nightroad expressed his thoughts that he did not anticipate that they would be able to capture him so easily. When Sister Esther was with the criminal, he told her that he had just finished a task because he had discussed the possibility of creating a sandstorm in response to the request of the magicians. Sister Esther then revealed what the criminal had talked about. Afterwards, they make their way to the embassy, where the Vatican is hosting a party for its guests. He spoke about Lady Katerina, whose work may appear to be fairly enviable. Yet she is required to move about quite a bit, and in order to ensure that the Vatican continues to preserve its credibility, she was also required to travel to Carthago. Sister Esther learned that Father Nightroad and Lady Katerina had known one another for 10 years, to the point where it was almost as if they had grown up together. Lady Katerina is also known as the Iron Lady. As the Father Nightroad continued to ramble on, he became aware that his sister Esther was no longer physically there with him. Esther was later observed in a different location, with her stomach growling. After the morning, she had not consumed any food at all. Her thoughts turned to the true reason she had traveled to Rome, which was to inquire about the fate of Jula and the other members of the church, and she wondered if they had all passed away. Father Trez then came over, and when he saw her, he asked what she was doing. She responded that she wanted to go to the cell where the computer engineer who had been arrested was being held, but she got lost. Father Trez offered to take her to the cell, stating that it is the duty of every member of the AXE service to offer assistance to a colleague who is in need of assistance while she is on a mission. Sister Esther then asked him if he could tell her anything about Father Nightroad, as she does not know anything about him. He responded by saying that he is unable to do so because Sister Esther is a regular officer and does not have sufficient access to the information of an ASC agent. Sister Esther then apologized for asking such a question on his part. On the other hand, he recommends that she should immediately inquire with Father Nightroad rather than spending her time looking for information elsewhere. Then, when they arrived at the cell where Father Trez was going to leave, he noted that Sister Esther was unable to open the door because it was too hot. It was then that he assisted her in opening the door. In addition, they found a figure of Professor Pietro that had been burned, which suggests that an individual had entered the cell from the outside and then burned the suspect to death at a high temperature. A fang mark was found on the deceased, which indicates that the vampire is still present in the room, as observed by Father Trez. When the vampire suddenly attacked them from the ceiling, Father Trez asked Sister Esther to duck, and he immediately went into war mode with his gun out and shot silver bullets at him. Sister Esther was taken aback by the vampire's ability to simply avoid being hit by those gunshots. Another discovery made by Father Trez was that the adversary possesses a pyrokinetic ability that is categorized as a Type F Ifrit. In light of this, Father Trez requested that Esther relocate to a secure location. Father Trez was then attacked by the vampire, which caused him to fall to the ground. It was at this point that Father Nightroad arrived, and to his surprise, he was also assaulted. He returned with his revolver, only to find that he had vanished. It was then that Father Trez warned Father Nightroad that he ought to pursue the vampire because it was possible that the vampire's true goal was the VIP who was present in the embassy. This indicates that Lady Katerina is in danger. Lady Katerina was in her room when she became aware of a burning odor, which was followed by the abrupt appearance of a female vampire appearing behind her and requesting that she remain still. She continued to look about, despite the fact that she was experiencing a great deal of anxiety. and she found out that it was a vampire. It was with great wrath that the vampire asserted that he was the imperial envoy that Lady Katerina had been looking forward to receiving. On the other hand, Father Trez fired a shot at the vampire, which caused him to believe that they had been betrayed by the Vatican. He then left and met with Radu, her companion, who inquired about the mission. As a response, Ion stated that she had been shot by the Vatican and that they have no choice than to serve them or perish, and that she has made her choice.